Let's take you now live to Neria Hlakotsa, who is in Galeshewe in the Kimberley in the Northern Cape. Neria, good evening. At this point, we obviously have heard about some of the challenges, but also some of the success stories coming through, with voting officially closed at the voting stations where voting is completed. Talk to us what is happening on your end, where you're stationed, what the sentiments have been like with the processes that have been undertaken today by the IEC.
Yeah, of course. Good evening. I know it is just after 9 p.m., but I can tell you that some of the voting stations here in Kimberley are still operating. Of course, we are at the results center right now, where IEC officials are just waiting for the stations to close. But IEC is very clear that they will not rush anyone to vote. They will wait until the last person votes for the 2024 provincial and national elections. I must tell you that when we look at some of the voting stations in the province, the IEC was saying that some of them have a high population of people who have registered, and one of those is Newton, which is here in Kimberley, with just over 3,894 people who have registered to vote. And we have Gamagara, a voting station also there in Gamagara of 5,000 people. You must remember that in the Northern Cape, at least 600,000 plus people have registered to vote for the 2024 elections. And of course, the IEC was just saying that, those bigger stations could have a longer voting period. They could go on for a longer time than the other stations. But I want to bring in right now the Northern Cape head for the IEC, Bonolo Mudisa, just to talk to me. You know, usually in the Northern Cape, when it's voting time, we are usually the first to finish counting. Bonolo, thank you so much for joining us. Are we seeing the same trend this year? Because when we looked at the local government elections, you were the first to finish. 2019 seemingly also. How is it looking for us this year?
Well, the most important thing right now is to ensure that those South Africans that still find themselves in queues at our stations are serviced. That's our first goal, to ensure that we give that opportunity to them. Once we're done, then we'll start with the counting process. If we happen to finish counting before everybody else, it's just a plus for us. But the important thing is that we make sure that when we start counting, we count correctly and we allocate the votes to the parties that people have chosen.
Yeah. And Bonolo, of course, you were saying that there were no major incidents, but I think the issue of VMDs, it did also affect the province, especially in terms of voting. The process itself had to be delayed.
Well, the VMD is just a support tool that we use at our stations. All stations have a hard copy of the voters' roll. It is a document that is very important for the management of all our elections. It is that copy that ensures that we can confirm that somebody has registered at that station. So the glitches we had with some of our VMDs did not really stop the process at stations. It just delayed it a bit. And it was not throughout all voting stations that there were those glitches, but we've been able to continue with the hard copies of the voters' roll in stations.
Yeah. And Bonolo, you were saying that soon, now that some voting stations are closing, obviously when they close, Lisa Lamas just add that when voting stations close, they will now become counting stations. Is that what we call it? And they will start counting every vote that they found, and eventually I will just show you then the numbers will start appearing there where we have the regional ballot. We'll also see the provincial ballot and the national ballot. We do know that parties that are contesting for the provincial legislature, we have 24 of them, right, Bonolo? And for the regional, we have 30 parties. So numbers will start showing as soon as counting starts and as soon as everybody has voted. Bonolo, just lastly, let me add you here. One thing that the police were saying that they are on every voting station, basically. Have you seen any incidents? Are you happy with how police have handled voting day to day?
No, the police over the years have always been our support structure, and this election was no different. We are glad that they were there. They maintained law and order where it was necessary. But generally, it was not necessary for any law and order to be maintained because voters who went to station maintained order themselves. So it was a beautiful day, no incidents, and we can only hope that we will go forward in the same manner.
Bonolo, thank you so much for your time. We will be talking a lot from today, tomorrow, and the next day until, of course, voting is done here in the Northern Cape. That was Bonolo Modise, the head of the Northern Cape IEC. Of course, Liesel, it's now a waiting game. We will be waiting for those who are still voting to continue and finish their voting, and then voting stations will then start counting as soon as everyone is done. And it's a waiting game more than anything. It's just to see when the numbers will start trickling in. Like I was saying, Bonolo did not want to, hold himself to it, but over the years, Northern Cape has been the one to finish counting first, and then it would be a matter of just consolidating the votes. But this year he's saying, you know what, let's just wait and see. Especially another concern that the IEC was saying is that, the fact that it's going to be 3 ballots this year, it's not business as usual. It might even just add a little bit more time. But Liesel, for now, let me cross back to you in studio.
Thanks, Neria. We'll continue to monitor those developments as the evening progresses. Then